Hello, fantasy friends. Welcome to the starting lineup for week 23. I'm your host, Jason Saghini, without my sidekick, Andrew Wiebe, once more. But don't worry about that. He will participate in this show all the way from Dallas, where he is with the U.S. national team. As we do each week, we're going to give you some fantasy advice to get you ready for the weekend. And we're starting this week by giving you a couple picks that we like, sure bets for points, and then a couple guys maybe a little bit off the radar who are higher risk, high reward type of players. And we're going to kick it to Dallas, where Andrew has his picks first.
Well, we're trying to beat the rain here in Arlington, Texas. You can trust Jason, or you can trust yours truly. I think I know who I would go with. Of course, we'll start with the shoo-ins. Thierry Henry against Real Salt Lake at home. That back line for Jason Kreis, ravaged by injury, ravaged by suspension. No Chris Wingert. Tony Beltran here with the U.S. national team. Brandon McDonald hasn't played with these guys yet. I think TT gets it done. Number 2, Camilo, 8.6 points on average over the last 10 weeks. This dude has been killing it. You expect him to continue to do the same against the Union at home. And then my underground picks, the guys that maybe your opponents are not picking up. Number 1, Steven Lenhart hasn't had a productive year. I know, but look, no Alan Gordon. He's also here in Arlington. I think Steven Lenhart gets his second straight start, and I think he does well at home. And then number 2, it's a toss-up. Luis Silva, I suggested you wait and see. Well, the time is now to stop waiting. He had that beautiful goal last week at home against New England. I think he puts up some more points. And then another one you can think about, Suni Saad. He is producing for Sporting Kansas City. Could be a great bet. Of course, you could also go with Jason's picks. I'm not even sure who he picked, but I think you know who to go with in this case.
Thanks, Andrew. Take the marbles out of your mouth next time. My top picks for this week, I'm going to go with Marco Di Vaio, a guy who maybe fell off the radar a little bit because he was out last week. A lot of fans dropped him. His price actually dropped a little bit as well. He's down to $8.9 million from $9.4. He is playing a Kansas City team without Aurelian Collin and Matt Besler in the back. They are going on the road to Montreal. Di Vaio has done well all season in Montreal. He's a good bet. Another good bet, Jamison Olave at home with the Red Bulls against his former team, Real Salt Lake. Again, a team missing a lot of players. Now they are also missing Chris Wingert in the back. I actually like Olave here as a chance to score on a set piece, not only a potential shutout that he could have. He'll be busy for the Red Bulls in the back against a Real Salt Lake team that has a lot of firepower still, but I like the Red Bulls in this home matchup with Salt Lake having to travel. Last pick I'm going to give you here is Diego Fagundes at $6.7 million. He's a lot more expensive than he started, but he's still cheaper than a lot of forwards out there. He didn't start last week. I'd expect him to be back in the starting lineup this week against the DC United team who gave up 3 goals to Chris Rolfe and Mike McGee. Fagundes, a similar player in the way he likes to attack. I say he's a good pick on the road at DC against a struggling defense. Now, giving you my picks that are maybe a little bit more risky or off the radar, Carlos Bocanegra, just coming into the league, he is at $5 million, cheap for a defender, or fairly cheap, I should say. Seattle has given up some goals off of set pieces this season, including last week. Drew Moore scoring for Colorado. Bocanegra very good going forward. He also picked up 3 defensive bonuses last week. He's not owned by many people, only 0.5% of the players in the game, so his price should rise as people start to pick him up. You can get in and buy him low here. The other player I'm taking, and again, this is a guy off the radar, not a surprise pick here though, Rodney Wallace. He's back. Make sure you get him on your team. Again, his price down to $5.1 million right now. Again, he's not a huge risk, but this is a fantasy stud. He is back in Timbers Green. And despite Andrew's faith in Steven Lenhart, I'm a little less faithful in this San Jose team right now without Alan Gordon, without Chris Wondolowski. I think their offense could struggle, so Wallace is also looking at the potential for a shutout. One thing I also want to mention about that Lenhart pick for my buddy Andrew Wiebe, he's on yellow card accumulation. 1 more yellow and he's suspended, so you should note that if you're going to pick him up. We're going to move on now. Thanks to Andrew for joining us in this episode, but we're going to get to fan questions, and I'm going to do that on my own. First fan question coming in comes from Jay Hefferman. He says, if you could only keep one Colorado player moving forward, would you keep Chris Clute or Nathan Sturgis? I have a similar problem on my team, and I'm keeping Sturgis. Here's why. Klute is in his first real professional season as a Major League Soccer player. I think he is potentially going to hit a wall. He's either going to be rested by Pareja or his productivity is going to come down a little bit. The other thing is they're both listed as defenders, so they both get the same shutout points. Sturgis, to me, being closer to goal, more of a chance to poach a goal here or there, or even an assist. I'd say stick with Sturgis. He's the better bet here as the season goes on. Okay, a couple questions coming in here about Amobi Okugo. This is an interesting one because people are wondering if it's time to get rid of him. For me, he's still the same player he's been in fantasy all season. He's actually the most consistent player, I think, across the board. He gets you 4 to 5 points guaranteed every week. That's why he has such a high score. Yes, he poaches a goal here and there or a shutout or assist, but you know that he's good for 4 or 5 points. For this week, Vancouver is a little bit of a tough opponent. I don't see a shutout coming this week, but remember, he's only getting 1 bonus point for that anyway, listed as a midfielder. I think he'll have plenty of chances to accumulate the normal bonus points that he would have. In these specific cases, I think I'd rather have Will Johnson or Russell Tybert on my team this week. But overall, when you look at the next 3 weeks for Amobi Okugo, after this, Chicago, DC, and then at New York, he's averaging over 5 points a game against those opponents in 5 games. I think he's definitely a safe bet to keep on your fantasy team. Final question coming in here from Matthew Pollard. He says, I've got Clint Irwin and Zach McMath as my goalkeepers. I want to trade one, preferably for a keeper with no buys the rest of the season. All right, you can't plan for the rest of the season in week 23. So I'll tell you this, what you should do and what I do is I look 5 weeks ahead. I look at this week and then the next 4 weeks because injuries happen, trades happen, new signings are going to happen. It's too hard to plan throughout the rest of the season. So looking at through week 27, where 3 teams have a double fixture date, and you'll want to prepare for that. The guys that I would go with here are Nick Rimando or Donovan Ricketts, and I would trade out Zach McMath. Again, this is if you have the money to do it all. Irwin can be started for Rimando this week, where he'll be with the national team, or for Ricketts in week 25, where he has a bye. They're decent starts for both guys. I think you want either Rimando or Ricketts on your team when you get to week 27 and they have a double fixture week. Again, you're trying to maximize points as the season rolls on. That's all we have for starting lineup this week. Want to thank Andrew for checking in from Dallas. We will be checking in from Kansas City next week on Thursday before we head out after the All-Star game. Good luck to everybody this weekend. Enjoy the games.